you very much. And now I asked to Phoebe Koundouri to go on the stage. Phoebe is a professor of economics and econometrics at the School of Economics in Athens University. She is the elected president in the European Association of Environmental and Natural Resources Economists. That is the most prestigious scientific association in the field, with more than 1,200 institutional members. Thank you.
Thank you. So as you see, I'm not an engineer, unfortunately. I'm an economist. But if there is a bright side to it, the last 25 years, I'm involved in many interdisciplinary projects. And I find myself being quite capable as an economist to bring together the different disciplines into conversation and real interdisciplinary work. And then I find that economists are well placed in communicating the results of interdisciplinary work to politicians. So if we have a role, it could be this communication between the different disciplines, but also towards politicians. We all know the challenge, 1.5 degrees increase is the most that we can live with. We know the history, the Agenda 2030, the COP in Paris, the IPCC report calling for 1.5, limiting the degree to 1.5, which basically implies zero net emissions. And we all know that we have this operationalization of the SDGs into 6 transformation pathways. And within this framework is where we want to place sustainable shipping. So, sustainable shipping is about safe, secure, energy efficient, affordable, reliable, low carbon, environmentally friendly, climate resilient, rule-based maritime transport systems. So in order to have economic efficiency, environmental sustainability, and equity within this industry, we need to figure out how we get shipping into responding to all these adjectives that I just referred to. Just 2 to 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions are related to shipping. Shipping is important. It transports about 80% of the global trade by volume. Currently, there is no global mechanism to control CO2 emissions in shipping beyond the efficiency standards of new ships that are being built. And IMO has agreed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from shipping by at least 50% by 2050, 50% compared to 2008 emissions. In order to do this transition, and I'm very sad that you cannot see the titles of my slides, but in order to do this transmission, we need commercially viable zero-emission vessels entering into the market. And we need them to enter the market by 2030 and then scale up quite fast by 2040. And we need to develop the vessels and at the same time, focus on future fuel supply chains. To achieve this, we need collaboration between the maritime industry, the energy sector, the financial sector, governments, and intergovernmental organizations. The IMO has a critical role. Market-based instruments are also quite important with regards to incentivizing the needed research and development. And obviously, national banks and regional development banks are quite important in order to scale up the financial resources we need. Recently, the European Investment Bank and ING signed an agreement in order to invest 300 million in shipping, in green investments in shipping. The new transformation to 2050 publication by SDSN and FIM identifies that long-haul navigation is hard to abate. We all know that. The answer seems to be in ammonia and hydrogen. Short-haul navigation is easier and can be supplied by electricity or hydrogen technologies, whereas biofuels is not obvious that it is a sustainable. That's nice music, definitely. That's somebody's choice of a mobile, that's nice, interesting. Okay, so the use of biofuels and sustainability of biomass for biofuels needs to be carefully assessed because we want to avoid competition with food production, deforestation, and loss of biodiversity. The crucial thing here is to have the regulatory framework structured in a way that does not identify explicit technologies, but they give incentives to research and development for them to identify the most efficient technology in order to make the transition to zero shipping. And it is quite important to focus on the life cycle analysis of each and every new technology and also the indirect land use change. So continuing with the same report, battery, electricity, and fuel cell powered ships for coastal short-range travels, renewable liquid hydrogen and ammonia for medium and long-range distances, and be careful with synthetic fuels and sustainable biofuels with regards to how they compete with relevance to biodiversity and land use and sustainability of land use. These are the leaders that have been identified in this report. 2018, MAN Energy Solutions invested 5 million in developing an ammonia fuel engine. European Maritime Safe Agency has reported on 9 projects that are working on commercial hydrogen. We have the first autonomous electric freight that was commissioned by the Norwegian Yaran International, and Denmark has started a fully electric ferry within the range of 20 nautical miles. So what I've just highlighted on are the, let's say, technological solutions, but they need to be enabled by softer solutions that have to do with managing the speed of the ship, the size of the ship, retrofit technologies and other efficiency measures. And it is quite important to introduce energy efficiency. There are studies that show numbers up to 33% and even 50% of CO2 emissions that could be reduced by 2020 was the first study, but the second study showed the 50% CO2 emissions reductions by 2030. Market-based instruments could facilitate as long as we have the options available. So we need first to develop the technological options and then try to identify the most efficient structure for a carbon tax or an emissions trading system that could further incentivize the adoption of these technologies within the shipping sector. Several market-based mechanisms have been proposed by different countries to the Maritime Environment Protection Committee. Norway has suggested a sector-wide cap on net emissions from international shipping, coupled with a trading system. France suggested the same, but also included an auction design in the initial allocation of the permits. The UK suggested an emissions trading system with an initial phase, including offsets for emissions. US suggested the mandatory energy efficiency standard, And the EU Parliament, quite importantly, in February 2017, voted to include shipping into the EU ETS by 2023 if the IMO does not have an explicit action with regards to this by 2021. What we tried to do at UNSDSN is create a global roundtable for sustainable shipping that is bring together the ship owners, the shipbuilders, the ports, the technology providers and researchers, the policymakers, financial institutions, and sustainable impact funds in order to engage everybody in co-designing the transitions to sustainable shipping. And it is quite important to engage everybody from the start so that they have ownership of the solution and we integrate all clever ideas and investments in the pathway that has to be constructed in order to help the industry transform into a sustainable industry. At the moment, we are in discussions with the EIT Climate Kick Ports Loops project, which is a project that tries to include all ports within Europe and outside to implement a circular economy. And we also started talking with the Getting to Zero Coalition, which again is a coalition that tries to sketch the roadmap to sustainable shipping. Sustainable shipping.
Phoebe, the time is over.
Oh, okay. Oh dear. Okay, give me half a minute.
1 minute.
Sustainable shipping is not about the economy and the society only, but it is relevant to the ship owners as well because they are greatly affected by the increased frequency and increased extent of extreme weather events. So they are already asking what is going on there. They are already asking how insurance will shape up with regards to their business, and the principles for sustainable insurance are becoming quite relevant to this industry as well. Very, very quickly, I'm just gonna say that we run as a partnership between SDSN Greece and ETI Climate Kick Greece that I direct many projects relevant to shipping, relevant to ports, trying to sketch the sustainability roadmap, and we use a systems innovation approach, this innovation that aims to change underlying structure of the system, not just individual parts. And if I refer to some of them, is circular economy integrated with a smart specialization of each and every country, including the shipping industry. This resilient maritime hubs project, which is a deep demonstration going into the ports, which are hubs for shipping and sustainable tourism and sustainable movement of goods. And we are trying to identify decarbonization pathways and implement this within these ports. And I'm gonna close by saying, look at the Loops Ports initiative of EIT, Climate Kick, 450 ports, 7 business models, 3 training pilots, 1 big web tool to try to identify the opportunities of circular economy within ports that are crucial for shipping and create a network that will mobilize the change towards sustainable ports and shipping. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe.